Do I think this game will reach the glory of AC1? Probably not. Instead, I believe Assassin's Creed Mirage will be the game that AC1 Revelations players thought Origins was going to be. Which is to say, it'll have more of that Assassin's Creed juice than Origins and Syndicate, but settle around just beneath Unity. Now obviously it's lunacy to extrapolate that from a 2-minute trailer, but I want you to hold on to this as my general mindset and general expectation attached to this game going forward. If that expectation changes, I will update everyone again. For now, let's begin. Remember when I said this? Before I begin, I just want to say none of this means anything until we see gameplay. The same is still true here. I know what you're thinking, we just got gameplay, but the recent Mirage trailer is very cut up and edited to present the game in a way that's exciting and cool. For me it was pretty cool, indeed. They're leaning hard on Assassin vibes and feelings in every way as far as themes and aesthetics go. This is a massive win for me as a player with specific tastes, which I know many of you share. We'll get to the gameplay stuff in a bit, don't you worry. What I mean to say though is, even this trailer is not enough for me. This is reasonable skepticism from someone who's been burned successively worse by the previous 3 games in a row. The more trust is broken, the more effort it takes to resuscitate. Naturally, at this point Ubisoft needs to work a little harder, show a little more, to entice me and soothe my concerns. So we wait for Ubi Forward, where there will presumably be uncut, long-form gameplay, which is really where the juice begins and where we can start properly examining important details. That doesn't mean this trailer gives us nothing though. It's a fun excuse for me to sit down and have a little chat with you all. I know you miss those, so do I. I want to talk about animation reuse. This ties into an absolutely massive flaw in Assassin's Creed, which I'm not sure is in most people's awareness, and which Mirage has a strong chance to avoid. Everyone I know who is hyper-conscious of this flaw is actually kind of happy with some level of animation reuse, because they know it increases the chances of a game escaping this flaw. I expect most will disagree with me here, because of their understandable fear and unease at what these copied animations might mean, but that's fine, everyone has reasons for feeling the way they do, I can just tell you mine. That said, if you're a hardcore AC1 to Revelations fan, or you have some experience with game dev, you're my homies, and I think you'll find this easier to understand, so hopefully what I say next makes sense to you. Think of how many animations AC1 to Revelations all share, all 4 of those games, before we get into this. Just think about that and keep that in mind. Assassin's Creed has a problem of doing way too much. If you've played all or even most of these games, I know you know what I'm talking about. They reinvent things that don't need reinvention. They do fantastic things in one game, and then instead of carrying them forward, they just scrap everything with alarming regularity, so in the next game, those features that players loved are just missing. This contributes immensely to the 1 step forward, 2 steps back perception that the series has had in the eyes of many for quite some time now. There are many fantastic games which can get away with redoing everything from scratch, but these don't have a mandate to release every year or two. They have the time they need to make that a reality. Assassin's Creed often doesn't, and Mirage definitely doesn't have that time. Assassin's Creed used to get compared to Call of Duty a lot, but the difference between those 2 franchises is that when COD and AC were both looked at most fondly and at the peak of mutual comparison, COD actually refined its mechanics through iteration over and over, while AC couldn't. It kneecapped itself by making iteration impossible, constantly changing what it didn't need to change, throwing out old work, leading to stagnation elsewhere in places that should have evolved but ended up stale. When you constantly keep scrapping everything over and over again, it prevents you from changing and evolving some of the things that, you really should. You can't iterate on something if your foundation is constantly changing under your feet like shifting sands. Consider the animation reuse present in Elden Ring, which dips all the way back into Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1 with some of them. This is not a bug. It's a feature that lets From do impossible things. These are functional animations and timings that allow a team to focus on elements of a game where novelty, newness, and innovation actually matter way more. They don't change them because they don't need to. They work fine and still look sick, and that time is better spent on more meaningful creativity. Imagine what Assassin's Creed could achieve if it didn't waste so much time scrapping everyone's work every time, and rebuilding everything, oftentimes to not even reach the quality of the previous game. Imagine how exhausting that is when it has minimal impact on the player experience, or, in many cases, a negative impact born of inability to iterate. Now, obviously animations only go so far in this regard, but they are a huge part of it, and the fact that Mirage repeats so many animations from Valhalla is a sign that this team is aware of that and they're prioritizing hard work on other things. Animations aren't just a visual, they have to be hooked to game states and behaviors, and if you have perfectly functional ones that work fine, that is a huge amount of time that you save that lets you pursue other important areas of a game's function and design. Valhalla had some decent animations, and if sped up a bit and their surrounding mechanics were stabilized, they'd work just fine for me. Some of Basim's animations do seem sped up, according to a few people. They've pointed out that his recovery after landing is noticeably shorter, which if it stays true up to release is hugely appreciated. Considering that UB Boldo are a small team and to deliver a functional and smooth experience at launch they need to hard focus efficiency, this smart reuse is the right move to me. Somehow, I doubt Ubisoft are extending the same amount of time and resources to this team that a game like Valhalla would have received. And with that in mind, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So if any of you are listening to this video for some reason, good job guys, slay out. This next part is a little bit of cope, so I know I consider this very unlikely, but it's also possible we see additional animations as part of Basim's growth, which we know happens on a narrative level. In Ghost of Tsushima, Jin's stealth kill animations change and speed up as he upgrades his Tanto, for example. The beginning and middle of Mirage features a Basim who's still pretty scrubby and new to being a killer. There's a small chance he gains newer, replaced animations later, especially as his merging with and awareness of Loki improves. Though, knowing Assassin's Creed, I'm kind of doubtful. They've never really done that before. Still, there is a chance. Speaking of his merging and awareness of Loki, Assassin Focus. This has been a little contentious, but I can say that for myself, I just fucking love it. It's me flavored, in at least two ways right off the top of my head. One, it seems to integrate into Basim's ego vision, or the way the Animus displays visual data, and two, it's a representation of someone being so fast, so agile, that he can slay a short sequence of foes before they can even react. Every Assassin's Creed game is, if not a power fantasy, then built on cool. From day one all the way back to AC1 in 2007. It's always had more in common with anime and comics than it's ever had with the grounded realism of something like Splinter Cell. Assassin's Creed at its best, at its most beloved, has always thrived on its cool factor, and that cool factor has been placed far too heavily in combat over the last years. Finally, we're pulling back a little, with stealth and precise lethality being what makes you go, wow, sick, about an Assassin's Creed game. So it makes sense to me that Basim's ultimate ability is to shred 3 or 4 guys with such speed, precision, and focus that the Animus struggles to accurately render his movements. This has obvious parallels to Arkham's Fear Takedown, as was already posited. We have no new information on this game's upgrade structure, but my idea of this is that Basim doesn't start with it, and even when he gets it, it's limited to, let's say, 2 guards, to mimic Ezio's double assassination. I imagine that as he merges with Loki further, or accrues more mastery as a hidden one, with both of those things kind of tragically causing the other, Assassin Focus probably improves in step with it. While I love this ability, I hope that kill chains beyond doubles are not excessively available and spammable, both because it weakens the tension of guard layouts and because a powerful action like this only feels all the more badass and satisfying if it has noticeable limits. I'm ambivalent on the idea of it having some drawback beyond its activation cost. In Arkham Knight, Fear Takedowns raised the suspicion of an area because nearby guards heard their comrades' panicked gunfire. The reason this works in Arkham, but maybe doesn't work quite the same in Assassin's Creed, is that Batman is significantly more mobile than assassins are. He doesn't really lose positioning for doing a fear takedown, and he can instantly undo any positioning loss. Except for fast lifts, Basim doesn't have a way to instantly teleport to a rooftop if he disrupts an environment. Batman functionally does. Just something to keep in mind when trying to give Focus too many drawbacks. Since this ability is unique to Basim in Mirage, it's something I'm keeping a close and very curious eye on. Abilities that other games or characters don't have play a critical part in defining a game's identity, so we'll find out how this affects the flow of play later. And now that I've said the flow of play, we have to talk about parkour. Man. Mechanically, it looks pretty dire. These animations are all from Valhalla as well, but unlike Stealth, where the motion that plays when you click a button to cross a guy out is just flavor beyond how fast you get control back, parkour animations are a little more concerning, notably in that there aren't really any different ones other than the pole ride to cross a gap. That suggests there aren't really different actions, and that suggests we still don't have the level of manual control we've been begging for. This entire trailer features movement that's purely holding the stick forward and auto-pathing over everything, which, yes, isn't too different from classic Assassin's Creed trailers, but since it's a known criticism by a certain set of fans that movement has been dull and failed to engage lately, you would hope that they'd show something more intriguing than this. I don't know if I even have it in me to hope for Basim unlocking new moves as the game goes on. Maybe I'm just meant to accept the CG trailer's failed wall run doesn't foreshadow anything in gameplay. Or maybe it does. They still have one more chance to prove me wrong about movement player side with whatever long-form gameplay footage they show later, but yeah, we might be taking another L here, sadly. Parkour level design, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. This is freaking sauce, dude. When I saw this, I really just felt these people clearly like Assassin's Creed, and they're trying their best under the limiting conditions and time that they have. Okay, I'm just gonna grab a bunch of random screenshots and go from there. Parkour starter. Staccato chains of objects everywhere. Very boxy world design that uses a lot of squares and rectangles, which is the type of geometry Assassin's Creed movement excels inside of, the kind of environment it ideally wants to be in. This city gate is reminiscent of entrances into Damascus, Acre, and Jerusalem, where you can probably fight, maybe blend through, but in this case, certainly climb over top of using ropes, scaffolding, and planks. This is really good. We see a lot of fast lifts in many of these screenshots. These represent a fast way to get onto a rooftop if you're being chased, or just want to quickly access a less winding path to an objective. Connector lines, which are featured in Assassin's Creed games that don't want you to be forced to go back to ground level a lot. Corner swing. This bridging walkway down here also looks like a great choke point to pull guards if you're being chased, so you can drop smoke when they're funneled in behind you and escape easily. More of this boxy level design here. Also, note these hanging platforms. The classic Assassin's Creed games used a ton of these. They're functionally just a way to add floating platforms to an area without making them look unreasonable. Really, really good. I hope we see lots of these. This nighttime shot has a parkour starter in plain view down here on the left, leading right up to the top of a building if followed to its end, and look at how gorgeous this object chain is. Lots of connector lines here too in the middle. Very good. This shot of Basim on the line above the archer has some mad AC1 and Origins vibes. Broken walling with the pigeons on it is a leap of faith for an easy way down. Wooden platform to step off down there into the nubs and windows is an easy way to get up. Multiple paths with different movement flavors, which granted, yeah, are still kind of hold forward and climb, but they're giving us choices and options here, which I think is the way they've done their best with movement. This is me crossing my fingers and hoping more than anything else, but I don't think this game is going to let Basim wall up a smooth surface the way Origins and Odyssey do. Those small puzzles in Valhalla where you had to shoot down ladders or shoot open locks, they only work because you can't wall up something that has no handholds. So I want more of the world here to work that way, where unless you see a visible thing to grab like a window or a protruding piece of wall, you'll just fall out of the climb animation. I'll come back to this point later, and another reason why I think it may be true. This vault animation is straight out of Valhalla, but we see two different connector lines here. Really good. Finally, we end on this shot of the viewpoint. Look at this, man. Look at that beautiful, boxy AC1E world design. This is what I want to see. If you dropped Altair into this, he'd be perfectly fine. We'll see if Basim will be fine too, but one thing I want to point out here is actually the viewpoint itself. You know how I said I hoped the world wouldn't let you climb something if there was no handhold? Look at the bottom of the viewpoint. Look at the way it's designed like a climbing puzzle, with a path to follow. Why would you go to so much trouble to design viewpoints like this if you're just gonna let Basim hook his fingers right into smooth walls as if he's got the Black Kakari with him or something? If you understood that reference, I love you. No, I think that viewpoints in this game are back to being short climbing puzzles that have to be engaged with your mind active. And from the context clue this trailer gave me, I think it's not far-fetched to assume that until they show me something that changes my mind and breaks my heart along with it. Overall, what does this mean? The way they give us choice in movement seems to be by leaning way harder on parkour-friendly level design than the previous 3 games combined. It's a bit of a workaround, but it's totally reasonable and it should have been done way earlier in the series. There are so many world ingredients here in Mirage, and while I still hope against hope that we get some kind of manual control, like jumping or eject, just those 2 by themselves would make us love you guys, please. The fact that the density of interactables and ingredients is so high is really nice to see. Corner swings, pole vaults, fast lifts, parkour starters, connector lines. Mirage has a ton of these to the point where most frames of the trailer have at least one visible at any given time. A later part of the trailer showcases what seems to be a mission that's structured like a black box. To remind you what those are, they're basically a multi-layered environment in terms of both guard density and architecture, which contain an objective you have to complete in whatever way you see fit. Player goes in, objective is complete, player goes out. It's a space in which developers relinquish a lot of their fine control and guidance over what the player can do, and it's a philosophy responsible for Unity's main assassinations getting so much respect and being so replayable. In the trailer, Basim is informed of a number of possible choices he can make for how to get into the area, and we see a few of those. Pickpocketing keys to get into places is one option, fighting is obviously another, and I assume it'll be deliberately underpowered and difficult. Another is, of course, going in from above and wiping the guards on the roof using stealth and tools, one of which is the throwing knife. Here we see Basim hold the knife up in a ready stance before releasing it. Assassin's Creed doesn't do quick shots anymore, so this is probably what it looks like when you manually aim something. If that's the case, that means you can aim knives while you're in cover without exposing yourself, which is absolutely huge. Smoke bombs have also been confirmed for a while, but here we see one in action. It's the classic AC2 smoke drop at our feet. It's done from a dead standstill, which is very good. No dodges or parries on screen means it's unshackled from those kinds of dependencies, so we're free to use it at the exact timing we choose. We don't see Basim throw one, so it's unclear if smoke is even throwable at all, but in the worst case scenario that it isn't, we do have Assassin Focus if we want to stealth chain into a small group. We can't really talk about combat because we didn't see any. This trailer is, like I said, very chopped up and edited, especially around anything to do with combat. All we get a look at is finisher animations, which are some of the few truly unique animations we've seen in Mirage so far, and they do look really sick. Basim has that stylish, flashy agility every good Brotherhood assassin or hidden one needs, but yeah, I mean, it's a little worrying. We don't actually see combat in motion, we only really see the end of it, and enemies don't exactly fight back during a finisher, so this achieves looking cool, but giving us no meaningful information. If I wasn't so cynical and looked at this more optimistically, I'd explain it like this. This trailer is still marketing. Marketing needs to reach people, and gamers love to fight things. Mirage has deliberately weak and underpowered combat when against multiple enemies, somewhat like Unity, so maybe showcasing that doesn't do great at appealing to players who do want to be fighting a lot. Or maybe combat is still very jank and they'd rather not show it to us yet, which is fair enough. I'm sure they'll try what they can to get it functional by release if I'm right about this. I do want to point out this alarm blower horn guy on the rooftop. We probably want to kill those first, which suggests two really cool things. Why do you need alarm guys if detection can just propagate huge distances freely like in Valhalla? You wouldn't, right? Likewise, these alarm guys represent a high-value target for us to path toward and prioritize in general, so we can have smaller skirmishes against fodder enemies without calling down the entire English army, the entire Baghdad guard force on our heads. Sorry, bad memories, you understand. Anyway, that's basically what I've noticed so far in this trailer. Other than that, it's cool, it feels assassin-y, which has obviously been their stated goal since this game was announced, and I think that on an atmosphere and theme level, they're doing great. There are still questions to be asked around gameplay, and a lot of this is speculation which may turn out to be false or even be changed before launch, even if it is true, but I hope that a lot of the things we want from this game and series are actually represented when it comes around. I've been Leoke, thank you for watching, may fog shroud you, may stars light your way, and may the night keep you safe.